Welcome to the Hand That Feeds HQ's monthly review, a feature that is basically another excuse for me to talk about male seiyuu music and 2D groups. In this episode, let's talk about the releases that dropped in August 2022, and there are a couple of really good surprises in here. Let's kick off this episode. Welcome to Monthly Review. This is time to talk about the best releases of August 2022. And let's start with a couple of interesting releases because this month, albeit a month with not many big players in the soundscape or in the landscape, we had a couple of really jaw-dropping releases. So let's talk about those. So first off, we had Rivale with Reflecting. So this is another full-length album, the second one by Rivale, and this one encompasses a big period in the career of this duo from the Idolish 7 franchise. And Reflecting is all about showcasing the maturity, the elegance in the new sound that Rivale has. And for those of you that do not know who Rivale are and what their sound is all about, Rivale is a two-piece group, part of the Idolish 7 franchise, and the vocals are by Shinosuke Tachibana and Soichiro Hoshi. And they used to have an EDM, really strong EDM sound, but they have evolved as a duo, and now they have a really interesting mix of jazz pop and funk rock going on in their repertoire. And right now they are really a group that stands out from all others in the 2D music landscape. The group has grown a whole lot, and Reflecting is a good example of that. As I was listening to this CD, I was basically revisiting songs that I love a whole lot. And one of those is Re-Raise. I love the classic, it's almost a casino made like song, and I love that vibe. It is elegant, it is mysterious, it is almost too hard to attain in terms of sound. You think the soundscape they are creating is almost unattainable. So I do love that, I do love that mystery, I do love that elegance, and they do have that in that CD. Of course, the best song in that CD is Storyteller. I love the funk vibes going on in there, I love the bass line. It's crazy how good that bass line is. It's so punchy, and I found myself repeating that song way too many times than I should have. So that's a good sign that this is a really good song, at least for me. Of course, I do not know what you guys thought about this CD and this song specifically, but I do welcome you to check Rivale's Reflecting. It is a really cohesive CD. It doesn't necessarily tell you a story, but it does the job really well at showcasing who Rivale are now and what they are doing at the moment and what they can do from now on, seeing as they have the basis or the foundation created to become an even better group. So if you have the time and you do enjoy jazz rock, funk pop basically mixed with jazz and funk, this is the group for you to check. The vocals have improved a whole lot, so no questions there about the quality of the group. So do check the group if you can, and do check, of course, Reflecting, Rivale's second full-length album. Then we have Unfair by HOUND ROAR. I've talked about plenty about HOUND ROAR because this is by far one of my favorite bands in the 2D music. Are we going to call it universe, realm, industry? I don't know. But it is one of my favorite 2D bands. And HOUND ROAR has an acid jazz sound with a couple of influences from funk, soul, and even orchestral music. But up until now, they didn't have any influences of orchestral music. I said up until now, because Unfair does bring those elements there, of course not a full orchestra, but a chamber music unit, which is to say a couple of strings or strings quartet into these performance, and the song really benefits from having those strings there, not only playing some accents in the background but actually taking the lead with those pizzicato melodies, or even the legato that is going on in the background, setting the stage for this nostalgic slash alluring tune. Unfair is, as I wrote in the review, and this is a bit of a shameless wordplay of mine, it is really unfair how good it is and how the band continues to show that they can do everything and sound absolutely mesmerizing. So do check Hound Roar with Unfair. Of course, if you can purchase the CD. Up until it is released on streaming platforms, you have to wait a bit, but this is a song well worth checking out. And of course the drama CD, if you are following the drama, it's also well worth checking out. So here's that, Hound Roar's Unfair. Then we have Tasuku Hatanaka with Real. So this was a CD that I was really expectant about, yet my expectations were not really high, like I said in the previous episode. So with my expectations not being that high, I went for this CD, or I went into this CD with an open mind. As soon as I hit play, I knew we were going the EDM route, at least for the very first part of the CD. You have, of course, to amp up, to hype up the listener, and especially if you want to grab their attention, you want to leave something mesmerizing right off the bat, unless you want people to actually think, well, it's not worth my time to check this CD because the first song is not really that good. So Tasuku Hatanaka usually has the first song or the leading song being right at the start of the CD as a way to grab your attention, so that you do not avoid the rest of the CD. And of course, you do not need to avoid the rest of the CD, or should I say, please do not avoid the rest of the CD, because it's really, really good. So I'm going to talk a bit about that CD as I've reviewed it a couple of days ago, and it's still really fresh on my mind. According to Tasuku Hatanaka, this CD is a really good showcase of who he is as an artist. In my opinion, and especially being a big fan of Fighter, his first CD, I do not see much difference between Fighter and Real. I don't know if any fans are finding it drastically different in terms of sound or the message that is passed with those songs, but as someone that listened to Fighter way too many times, and to the point that I already know many songs by heart, I arrived at Real and I found the album to actually be a continuation of Fighter, not so much a new chapter or a display of his real self as an artist. Of course, let's not put aside the fact that it is noticeable how much he has grown as an artist. However, I feel like his voice continues to be underused, or his talents continue to be underused by Lantis. He's a fantastic singer, there's no doubt about that. Of course, some of you may not even know who he is, or haven't checked his music, or do not find him to be particularly talented, but anyone that has a little bit more sensibility to voices and the technique and all those details that really, when you are listening to music just to have fun, you do not pay attention to, people will tell you that he is a really good singer. The problem is he doesn't get that many chances to showcase that he is a really good singer. Here's the problem. There's only one ballad within this CD. Is this that big of a problem? Not necessarily if you think that the CD is not about the ballads. It's not about being really emotionally raw. But if you think about how EDM doesn't really showcase how good of a singer he is, and in a ballad, being more technical, being more pensive, being slower, he has to have his technique in check. He has to have his technique in full display. That's why when I say that a good singer can be noticeable by the way they perform ballads, it is exactly because of that. Without anything printing up the song, helping them in the background, basically improving the vocals or tweaking the vocals. That can also be done in mixing, and it's barely noticeable for those that do not know anything about mixing. Tasuku Hatanaka is really a skilled singer. So when I say that a good singer can be basically spot as soon as they perform a ballad, it's because of that. You do not have anything in the background prettying up their voice, you do not have anything tweaking their voice. That can be done in mixing, and most of you do not even notice that, because most of you of course do not know how to mix music and notice those little nuances in the voice that are not natural but for you may sound natural. So without those things, you notice who are the good singers, and in this case you have Tasuku Hatanaka performing a ballad. It's only his voice and the piano. Simple. He does showcase his beautiful vocals and the technique he has and how unique his voice tone is, because let me tell you, he's a tenor with a raspy tone, which is not a common thing to have for seiyuu. So he does have that, and he puts that to use. Showcases that he can go really high using head voice or even his natural range. Because he's a tenor, he can go for those high notes, not necessarily insanely high notes, because he's never shown does that, because yet again Lantis doesn't offer him the option to do so, or on the other hand, because we do not know, he may not want to showcase those because he may not have that scale or that part of his range trained, or is not comfortable with that, or he actually does not have that much of a higher range to his tenor voice. So we do not know any of that. It may not necessarily explain why we do not have more ballads in these CDs. I don't know, really. It's a pity that a voice such as his doesn't get more opportunities to shine. Of course, in a stage that is uncluttered, it is all focused on his voice. So you have that option, it is a ballad within the CD. Of course, the best song in this CD is Solid, and that's period for me. I love that song. As soon as it started playing, I wanted to hear more, I wanted the rest of the CD to be more of that, and I was glued to that song. Of course, there are a couple of interesting things going on in that CD. For starters, I'm a massive fan of Twisted Hearts. That's a song that is synthwave, a music genre that only Wataru Hatano had tried before, so there's only two seiyuu out there that have tried synthwave in their music, Tasuku Hatanaka and Wataru Hatano, and he's done that pretty well with Twisted Hearts. That's a song that I love a whole lot. That's a song that basically went on to be one of the most popular in the year it was released. Unfortunately, that popularity didn't carry over to the CD release, as you can see by the sales numbers. The CD barely sold 900 copies, which is very little for a seiyuu artist, especially a seiyuu artist with the caliber and quality of Tasuku Hatanaka. So that's unfortunate, and I do not know why people are not that invested in his music and what is missing in his music that doesn't click with other people. I would love to know that, and I honestly think that I may never know that. At the same time, the CD goes a bit the unrealistic way, goes the surrealistic in unreal. I was not expecting a song that was going to embrace the surrealism that I found early on this year in Soma Saito's My Beautiful Valentine, which is an album completely about surrealism. It's actually its main theme. But in here, with Unreal, Tasuku Hatanaka has a go at that concept. It's not necessarily a fully fledged surrealistic song, but it does have a bit of surrealism going on. It is a song that will play with your mind, because you are listening to it's not necessarily a peppy, but it is an upbeat instrumental, but the vocals, the lyrics especially, are not matching the tone at all. It's that twisted, and I do love when songs are that twisted and people are actually thinking, especially if you do not understand Japanese at all, you are listening to the song and you think that, well, because the rhythm is upbeat, the song is actually happy-go-lucky and fun. And there are some artists among male seiyuu and some 2D groups that's not necessarily the case. Soma Saito is a good example of that. If you listen to a peppy song, the lyrics are not peppy unless he wants to change anything about that. Sometimes with Trigger that's the same thing. For example, almost all songs in the Dear Vocalist franchise have an upbeat tone, but the lyrics not necessarily reflect that. And now we have Tasuku Hatanaka with Unreal. That's also the same vibe. The tone of the song or the instrumental is actually pretty upbeat. The lyrics, not so much. And I do love that duality. I love when songs make me think and make me disassociate the instrumental from the vocals and the lyrics, and you have to analyze both parts individually, not as a whole. At least for you to make sense of what is going on in the song. So I do love when songs make me think. This may of course not be a song that many people will appreciate, especially if you want to have fun and just relax and enjoy a song. This is a bit too dark to be enjoyable on a laid back session or wherever. So that's a pensive song, that's a song to actually stop and reflect. It's not really common, but then again, I like to find that it is a nice twist to a CD that actually has a wide variety of music genres going on in there and pretty unique performances. I do love the CD. It's not remarkable like Fighter was, at least in comparison. I believe Fighter continues to be the best album out of both, but Real is filled with highlights, although it has some moments in which it is a bit weaker than Fighter. It does show the growth that Tasuku Hatanaka has undergone in the last couple of years as a performer as well as a singer. He is showing a lot that is slightly different from what he delivered in Fighter, although I do not believe that this is a CD that shows the real self, because it sounds like a continuation of Fighter, and if Fighter was not an expression of himself, or a true expression of himself, then this CD is not as well. So regardless of what the artist actually thinks and wanted to convey in the CD, what I got from listening to the CD is that it is a continuation to Fighter, not necessarily a different chapter from Fighter. So it is a continuation but with more maturity. If you have time, do check Real by Tasuku Hatanaka. Once again, Solid is the best song in this CD. You do have ballads, you do have dance tunes, you do have popular songs in there that were featured in anime series such as Moriarty the Patriot, and of course you do have the fair share of instrumental tracks opening and closing the album that make it come full circle, make it re-listenable, make it interesting to check yet again. So do check it if you have the time. And of course the highlight of the month, that even I wasn't expecting it would be the highlight of the month. I was really expecting it would be Rivale, but it wasn't. It was TOBARI. And right now TOBARI are back to being a duo instead of being part of Pionix. The supergroup comprises of the members of Pionix and the members of Infinito Zero. So TOBARI released the first entry in the In-Yo CD series, which is under the theme of Yin-Yang, which is the dark and light concept. And this time around they released Yin, Black with High Purity. And there is a big reason why this song is massive. Just look at who are credited as the composers. The solo track by Kuroi Hashiba, voiced by Tetsue Sumiya, is composed by Hama Takeshi. which is to say the composer for Lolodi and Quell. So, right from the start, you know, this is going to be dark, this is going to be complex, this is going to basically be mind-blowing. When I was reviewing the song, however, I did not know it was Hama Takeshi. As soon as I hit play, then was the time in which I found that yes, this may quite be Hama Takeshi as the composer for this song, because it has his vibe. And the group song is composed by Zakbi, which is to say another awesome song with a really fancy vocal line. Zakbi is really good with the vocal lines for 2D groups. So we have Tobari with Black with High Purity, and the CD goes the extra mile at being impressive. Setsunateki Blast is the solo track by Kuroi Hashiba, voiced by Tetsuya Sumiya, and this song. This is dark as you can get, as dark as you can get. The sound is somber, it's eerie at times. You have a really dirty bass line, punchy bass line midway through. You have synths that are not overwhelming, they are really the stage dressing for the performance. You have a really somber, atmospheric synth going on in the intro, and the backing vocals, really high pitch vocals by Tetsuya Sumiya, that are contrasting with his lower ones in the leading track, and you create a really eerie, oppressing, dark and violent vibe. Because when you listen to this song, you may think, well, this is going really dark out of nowhere, but all of a sudden you also notice this is actually a really beautiful song, but dark. And that's really destructive. The song itself is destructive, is intentionally violent. And I love how that beauty and quiet in the strings and the vocals, the pitch vocals going really high in head voice, and then the somber, slow way in which Tetsuya Sumiya sings, leading up to the chorus in which the drums go ballistic and the guitars are really oppressive. It's a really nice touch. You have the beauty and the beast within the same song. You have light and darkness within the same song. It is a song that is as beautiful as it is violent, and I find it to be mesmerizing. Yet again, it's Hama Takeshi, and so far I haven't found a song by himself that has made me go, what the hell is this? Most of the times his songs make me stop and think, and I really wonder if he's the type of composer that, working with specific 2D groups or specific solo artists among male seiyuu, if he couldn't pull off something really unique and mesmerizing. But as it is, with Tobari, I was not expecting Hama Takeshi to work with them, and what we got in Setsunateki Blast is something that you really have to check to know how good it is. My words do not make it justice, really. It's the type of song that I hit play and I wanted to write about it, but so much was going on, and you find yourself really immersed in that vibe that you really can't do much beyond what you are doing, which is paying attention to a song. You are paying attention to a song. And that's something that Hama Takeshi does in his music, in his compositions, or at least is to make you stop to pay attention. Not many composers do that, and many composers actually do their compositions in the way that you want to pay attention to the vocals only, and they are actually creating the soundstage or the soundscape for the artist. But here Hama Takeshi does a different thing. Both the vocals and the instrumental are for you to pay attention to. And if you pay attention to the instrumental in the intro, you are set to be completely immersed in this song. And I found myself really into that song, and I didn't write anything for the very first listen I had of this song, which is to say, actually wasted the very first opportunity to write my emotions, because I was actually having all my emotions focused on that performance. And of course, Tetsuya Sumiya delivered a performance that I was not expecting. He's a tenor. If you guys have been paying attention to his work with FAM and Ready Project, he actually is a tenor, a high one, but he can go a bit lower and do this full baritone voice that you are listening to in Setsunateki Blast. And that's really, really awesome, especially the contrast he does with his pitch vocals that are really on a high scale, are really in his comfortable scale. So I find that to be really pleasing to listen to. However, what stands out the most to me is the technicality in this performance. So he's showcasing his emotional range, for starters, and this is a performance that doesn't require him to scream or shout or change the tone. He actually can be performing the song always in the same sound level without raising too much the tone, and he can make you stop and think. He can make you really make your jaw drop as he starts to perform the chorus, and that chorus is strangely addictive. Listen to this performance, pay attention to the instrumental and the vocals, especially Tetsuya Sumiya's vocals in the chorus, because he does bring a lot of power to the performance, but he doesn't necessarily scream or shout. He only raised slightly. It's really subtle how he raises slightly his tone, and all of a sudden there's even more power to his voice. That's really technical and something I was not expecting of him, but then again, he has yet to show everyone what he can do as a singer. He has been showing a lot with TOBARI, he's shown a lot with Pionix, but he hasn't had many opportunities to do so solo. So this was a fantastic opportunity for him to showcase what he can do as a singer and actually whet our appetite for more. And of course, the B-side track is Gecko, is performed by TOBARI, and this is to say Tetsuya Sumiya and Yoshiki Nakajima performing together, which is something that I was missing a whole lot. I loved and I love Pionix and the dynamic they had, but I found that TOBARI, as they were the newer group, they had less work behind them to actually support what they do and to actually showcase what they are as a group. So this time around we had the opportunity to see and listen to what they can do, and let me tell you, they are crazy good. Gecko is fantastic as a song. The chorus, this is something that many people are actually saying, and I found even in the comments for this episode. The chorus is actually mesmerizing. The way they rise on the scale, they harmonize in head voice, and they double their tone there. It's crazy how technical that song is, and of course Yoshiki Nakajima is leading the way. He's doing a lot of the work to harmonize with Tetsuya Sumiya when they rise on the scale. He's the leader, of course, so no problem there, it was to be expected. But the way he effortlessly does those rises on his scale, and he then goes for head voice, and then he doubles his tone, and then he harmonizes. It's crazy. Really, it's crazy. It's crazy how good Yoshiki Nakajima is. And at the same time, how Tetsuya Sumiya is. The chemistry between both is unreal. They can deliver really, really good performances, and they do not sound like they are putting too much effort into those performances. They are delivering something that, if this is this technical and they are really comfortable, I do not know what is technical for them. They are really, really good. And I love that about TOBARI, and Gecko is a good example of that. Do listen to that song, do pay attention to the verses and how beautiful it is, the mix between their rock sound and traditional Japanese music. However, with a twist, it is not the trademark put a shamisen in there and then let the guitars lead the way. No, you actually have that melody on the shamisen being replicated in the synth, and then it takes over from there. and the singing mixes regular pop singing with rock singing and enka. So you have a really traditional twist in the chorus on the vocal end. Not to mention all the other things that I said that are better listened to than actually having someone like me explaining it to you. So do check the song if you can. Actually, do check the single if you can. It is available for free on Spotify. Do check the links on this video for the review and a direct link to this CD. So if you can, do check this CD because it's mesmerizing. TOBARI really stole the show in August. And this is all from me in the best of August 2022. Let's check your opinions. So now it's time to check your opinions on the best CDs released in August 2022. We have a comment by Naz. Naz says, Real by Tasuku Hatanaka was my favorite CD this month. It was really nice to hear new music from him again. I absolutely love his voice and it fits many different genres, whether he sings a ballad or an energetic rock song. His tone is so clear, his falsetto is so sweet and heavenly, and his vibrato is stable. As someone who loves ballads, Mate Anata o Egaiteru is one of my favorite songs. I especially love how well he can emote vocally while keeping his vocal tone throughout. And as someone who became a fan through the Moriarty the Patriot opening songs, Unreal became an easy favorite because they share a mysterious vibe and Tasuku's vocals remain powerful. Indeed, Real is one of the best CDs in August 2022, and I do share most of the opinion you have in there, Naz. Of course, I do find Tasuku Hatanaka's vocals to be extremely versatile. He does have a unique voice tone, and he has shown before that he can perform any style of music, and he does so with a really good, a lot of comfort and a lot of charisma. And his voice can really do a lot. He does have a raspy edge, which enables him to add more emotion. In a way, raspy voices are the best ones to perform ballads. That's why I was saying a couple of minutes ago that I would love to have him perform more ballads. It's not necessarily because I love ballads, it's because his voice is perfect for ballads. And he would be showing or showcasing much more of his vocal range than he is doing right now, which is a pity, because fans do know that he can, and he has shown before in, of course, glimpses of his technique and his vocal range, and I believe we all would love to have more and listen to more. So I do agree with you in there. It's actually one of the highlights of the month. I do love the assessment that you made about Tasuku Hatanaka's voice. He now added to his falsetto head voice, so he's even more technical, and he can switch between both, adding more clarity with head voice or less clarity and more of a dreamy way or a dreamy vibe with falsetto. So he can switch between both and really do what he wants within a song, which is yet again awesome. And of course, as far as his technique and his ability to maintain a tone through technical parts and do so while emoting really well, it's actually part of his technique. He has shown countless times that he is really skilled and he trains a lot. He practices a lot to be the good singer he is. People may not give him credit for that, but you can tell by the way he performs that he is skilled, that he has spent hours and hours and hours singing to sound like that. So it is good to see people actually noticing that he can do that, and he can do that really, really well and maintain the tone while emoting in a way that is not overwhelming, that is not over the top. He can actually maintain his tone really steady and deliver bursts of emotion here and there to make you more engaged or less engaged within a song or with a song. And of course, Unreal. It's good to see some love for Unreal because this song is really surrealistic and not many people will love to stop and listen to a song that needs to be understood in two different ways, the music and the vocals plus lyrics. So it's good to see that that song has sparked some interest, and especially that the mysterious vibe it has stood out for you. It's actually one of my favorite songs in this CD, and I recommend everyone to check it if you can. So thank you very much for your comments, Naz, and I hope you actually enjoyed all other releases or some of the other releases in August 2022. And the other comment is by ML, and this is a comment that I love to get because this is an underrated group that is getting some love. So ML says, I'd love to talk about Hatanaka's album, but TOBARI stole the spot for my favorite CD. I just love the instrumental of the solo song. It's dark, very dark, but not too heavy. It feels like a Lolo-D plus rock. The duet is just as good, but for different reasons. The vocals in the chorus are chef's kiss. So, ML, you actually hit the mark with your comment, and I was talking about, actually partially citing you when I was talking about TOBARI, because the CD is unreal. Let me say this. As soon as you say this 2D group is going to have Hama Takeshi as the composer, I'm there. Regardless if that group is actually peppy pop, cheesy pop that is way too bubbly for me to enjoy, I will be there if Hama Takeshi is there. Because have you listened to what that composer can do? It's crazy. And Setsunateki Blessed, the solo song by Kuroi Hashiba, is crazy good. It's really, really dark. It's pitch black at times. Especially in the verses, it can go really dark, and the chorus can get a bit too aggressive, even violent. It's not violent in the way that anyone is screaming to you, because no one is screaming to you. The guitars are loud, but are not ridiculously loud, and are not necessarily shredding just for shredding's sake. It's actually everything is really carefully done. So you have a song that you need to stop to listen to and analyze first the song, the instrumental, and then the lyrics and the vocals, and put everything together, because this is Hama Takeshi and there are layers and layers and layers that you have to peel to actually understand the song in its entirety. But that's crazy, and especially I find TOBARI to be a really genuinely good group, even without Hama Takeshi. But with Hama Takeshi and mixing rock, well, that's really paradise for me, because I love rock music and Hama Takeshi is one of my favorite composers. So to have both in the same place in this song is unreal. And of course, like you are saying, ML, the duet track is so good. Vocally is insanely technical. Once again, a big shout out to Zach B, because as a composer and preparing the guide for the vocal parts, he really does an awesome job time and time again. He's actually working with Vezrock, is working with these groups that are on the margin of Vezrock, of the Vezrock franchise, but that are still Tsuki Pro, which is to say Infinito Zero and TOBARI, and is actually working with Aopella. So you know from the start that when you have Zach B in a song, he's actually going to put his all on the vocal performance. That's the part that is going to shine, and that's exactly what shines in the duet track in TOBARI's newest CD, Black with High Purity. So if you do have the time, do check that CD. I've already told you. The link is of course under this video, so do check it if you can. And thank you very much, ML, for these comments, and I do hope that you continue to support TOBARI, because this group is absolutely amazing. So that's all from you, and let's now kick off the next section. So now it's time for monthly choice, which is to say that time in which I recommend you 3 CDs to check, because really I only had time to check 3 CDs, no really. It's that time in which I suggest you CDs to listen to, because I have been listening to those really a lot in the last couple of weeks, and this time around it's coincidentally the CDs that I enjoyed the most as I was reviewing my backlog. So let's start this section. So the first CD is Kashkomi's M. Kashkomi is a duo and they are signed to Marine Entertainment. But as it is, Kashkomi's M is one of those CDs that you cannot miss, especially if you are a fan of rock music. If you are not a fan of rock music, you may want to skip this part. So, Kashkomi are all about rock, heavy rock, fast-paced rock, engaging songs with shredding guitar riffs, pounding bass lines, hard-hitting drums, really powerful vocals, not shouting but really powerful vocals, and they deliver that in this CD, and we are talking about M, the very first mini album by Kashkomi, which is crazy. This was a CD that I had in my backlog for a couple of years, and since I've recently acquired the CD, the physical one, I wanted to actually review it and showcase just how good the group is, because I do not see that much support for Kashkomi or even Shoichiba and Shonogami when they are insanely good as singers. And they have a really awesome sound that no other seiyuu unit has. So rock music, rock is their foundation. They do have a bit of funk, a bit of jazz, and sometimes a little bubbly song here and there, but it's not necessarily their vibe. So they have this mature, aggressive rocker edge, and I do love that about them. It's not commonly found among seiyuu units, so it is really refreshing to find in their music. And of course, as a big fan of Shoichiba, I do love his voice, and yes, I've grown to love his voice. A couple of years ago I wasn't saying that. I do love his voice, and I have been finding his singing technique and his growth as a singer to be really awesome to follow and to enjoy when I listen to the music. So it was good to go back in time and listen to M when Shoichiba was not popular at all, and Shonogami was starting to stand out a bit because of his work with Quell as one of the power vocals in that group. Is basically responsible for the high notes in that group. So to have two tenors working together was, from starters, it was going to be a challenge. At least I thought it would be a challenge. Of course, I do have prior knowledge of how Kashkomi sound like, because I have reviewed some of their CDs, but not this CD, one of their earlier ones. So going back in time and checking the music they have released recently, it is interesting to see that Shoichiba has grown a lot. His control right now is crazy. Back then, not so much, but he was already delivering really solid performances, something that not many seiyuu can say when they are first taking their steps in the music industry, regardless if it is a seiyuu unit, a 2D group, or solo-wise. So he was already sounding really well for starters in that CD. And Shonogami was and still is performing in the same way. The quality he has on the vocal end, the versatility, the way he can harmonize with anyone. He does have a really good ear, to the point that he can harmonize with low vocals, low booming vocals, like he does in Quell with Shunsuke Takeuchi, and he can harmonize with high, clean tenor vocals like he does with Shoichiba. So it is really interesting to find their synergy, their harmony as a group, and they perform really, really well. Of course, they have something on the composition or the vocal direction end that is a bit lazy coming from Marine Entertainment, but what can we do? It's that the chorus is always in unison and without any solo parts, or barely any solo parts. But the unison for Kashkomi is actually pretty interesting, because you can understand each of the vocals. They are really clear. It's night and day in terms of tenors. Shuichiba is a versatile tenor that does not have too much of a high range, at least he hasn't shown too much of a high range. And he does have a really good edge for the start of the baritone range, so you can go a bit lower than a tenor usually can. And on the other hand, we have Shonogami that usually has a really high voice when singing, and at times he has lacked control. Basically trying to control that tone is not easy because he sounds a bit brassy when he goes up on his vocal range, but in this CD he's actually pretty contained and he's showing control from start to finish. And the way both harmonize, knowing that they have contrasting tones within the tenor range, is really awesome. I do find the CD to be extremely pleasing. It's all about rock music, so if you do have the time, do check it because it is shredding guitar riff after shredding guitar riff from start to finish. Then we have Trado with Trado. So I was delaying the review of Trado CDs the best I could because I didn't want to spoil myself with music by a group or by a duo that I love a whole lot, and I do treasure that feeling of listening to something for the very first time, so I was purposely delaying listening to Trado's debut CD, Trad. So now that I've listened to it, I want that feeling back. But I also have the ability or the possibility to listen to the songs time and time again instead of wondering how they sound like. So I can safely say that Trado are a much improved DAT, and I love that about them. DAT was a group also signed to Marine Entertainment. It seems we have a theme today. I didn't plan this. And they used to have, or they were pioneers among male seiyuu units as a rap slash EDM duo. And they were already rapping when rap was yet not popular among seiyuu fans or to the music. They were doing that in 2012, which is a long time ago. So I did find the group really awesome, and it was a pity that they disbanded, but soon after they announced they were going to keep working together, but under a different name and under a different music label. And I was wondering if Pony Canyon was going to change their sound way too much, or if they both wanted to change their sound too much to distance themselves from what they were doing as DAT, but actually they did not. And I feel like it is a continuation of the work they were doing there, but now much improved and with more quality on the instrumental side, and the vocals do sound a bit cleaner, result of having more budgets to actually recording. And I found actually the highlights in this CD to be the solo tracks. Both are ballads, both are R&B, both are alluring and passionate at the same time, and both illustrate how much they have improved and how awesome both now are as singers. Takayuki Kondo has always been a really good singer. He has done most of the melodies for DAT, and now he is doing a little bit of everything. And Daisuke Ono is unreal how much he has grown, because have you listened to the solo track in this CD? Because he is performing in head voice. I have never ever heard Daisuke Ono performing in head voice, so this is the very first time that you have Daisuke Ono performing in such a way and with such technicality, rising on his vocal range. So do stop to listen to that song. Actually, do stop to listening to Trado's Tread. Do stop for that, because it is a really good CD. It actually has Ron and Juvenile as some of the composers of those songs in that CD, so you do have some disruptiveness of rock and EDM in the same place. You have EDM Of course, you have R&B, you have pop rock, you do have a little bit of everything. You do have a group that is showing that they still got it and they still have a lot of quality and good music to offer. So do check Trad because it is well worth the time. And of course, to wrap up this section is Tetsuya Kakihara's Don't Let Me Know. This is yet another CD that I was delaying on purpose because every time I listen to a Tetsuya Kakihara CD since 2018, I know that it's going to be good right off the start because he has improved a whole lot as a singer. If you follow his work in the Opella franchise, you do know that he has actually been stealing the show when he is not even the lead in Lil Happy. So you do know that he has been improving a lot, he has been practicing a lot, and what you have in Don't Let Me Know is absolutely good, is crazy good. This is a CD that as soon as I hit play, I was actually not enjoying much. Actually, one of the songs that I do not like that much in that CD is Domino. But after Domino, that CD is so good. Really. Funk and rock are really at the spotlight in the CD. It seems as though Tetsuya Kakihara has matured as a singer and is slowly ditching EDM when it comes to releasing CDs and is leaving EDM for his singles. So what we have when we listen to a single by Tetsuya Kakihara is a really upbeat, intense, energetic sound, but what we get when we listen to a CD is the same energy but with a mature take on it, and not using EDM but instead embracing jazz, funk and rock. Tetsuya Kakihara is delivering something a bit more mature, a bit more, I would say, tasteful. I'm not that big of a fan of the big loud EDM that he has in some songs, but here you can listen to his voice clearly and cleanly, and he can showcase what he can do best. He has been adding more tools to his skill set, and right now I was talking about that a couple of days ago, is that Tetsuya Kakihara is known for singing with half hair, half sound, which is almost a falsetto style of singing all the time, which is really difficult to copy because it's really tiring for a singer to continuously perform in falsetto. But Tetsuya Kakihara does have that breathy edge to his singing and is really breathy all the time. That's really difficult to maintain. It's really difficult to master. At the same time, he has a really good falsetto that he has added to his arsenal in the last couple of years. And in this CD, Don't Let Me Know, he added head voice. So now he has the trifecta right here. He has a breathy singing style that is almost falsetto all the time. He does have a clean falsetto, and now he added an even cleaner head voice. So this is crazy how he has improved so much, to the point that his skill set may not be that varied, but what he has is his core is so strong and he's so comfortable with that core that he can do basically anything he wants in a song, and what we get in Don't Let Me Know is exactly that. Highlight after highlight. My suggestions would be Player. That's a really good one. And Warumono. So we have jazz in both songs, but jazz performed or approached in different ways. Player is funkier and more playful than Warumono. It's slightly low tempo, it's semi-acoustic, it's a bit more to the style of song that you would love to sit back and relax listening to. But do check the CD if you can, because I do not have any complaints beyond Domino not being that good of an opening. I still rank it pretty high, but it's not the type of song that I would have put as the opening for this CD. But yeah, do check it if you can. Tatsuya Kakihara's Don't Let Me Know. And that's all from my suggestions of CDs for you to check. And I do hope you actually take the time to search for those. They are available on streaming platforms worldwide, so you do not have the problem with finding these CDs, especially for free. So if you do have the time, stop a bit and check those out. So we have one suggestion by ML, so let me read it. ML says, Infinito Zeros, Sora wo wataru kaze. I've been wondering if you missed the news about this CD because it's the only one you didn't review. It may have happened. Sometimes there are news that really slip my radar and I don't even write about those, and I completely miss the opportunity to actually talk, cover and review those. Regardless, I'd recommend it to everyone reading these. Both of the songs are really good and the two singers are so underrated. The first song literally sounds like war. The second one is so peaceful. You can basically guess the story of the stage play they are from. Okay, I haven't checked this CD because from your description I do not recall any CD that actually fits the bill. It is Infinito Zero. I do love Hinata Tadokoro's vocals, and I feel that he is incredibly underrated when he is one of the power vocals coming from 81 Produce. Barely anyone pays attention to him, which is weird. So every opportunity that I get to put the spotlight on Infinito Zero, which is a group that I love a whole lot, and Hinata Tadokoro, not to forget of course Chiba Mizuki. It's really a good opportunity and I will take it. So you guys heard it. Infinito Zero's Sora wa Wataru Kaze is a CD that you can check. I haven't. Thank you ML for the suggestion. I may have missed the whole CD completely. Haven't covered it, so I will be checking it, and thanks for the reminder / suggestion. And that's all for your suggestions of CDs to check. This episode is sponsored by all the Hand That Feeds HQ's patrons on Patreon. A big thank you for the support. Now it's time to talk about music in the horizon. So next month we have a big problem, which is to say there are a lot of CDs dropping, but many are not that interesting or not that different in tone. You have the usual franchises releasing music every month. If you want something a bit different, I bring you something a bit different. The first CD that I'm looking forward to is Phantom Iris Miroir. So this is French, so to everyone that speaks French, I hope I haven't butchered the pronunciation. It's been a long time since I spoke French, although I am slightly fluent. So, Phantom Iris Miroir. That's a mirror, that's actually a reflection of something. So we have a concept in here. I am curious to see how the whole album sounds like, and seeing as I haven't reviewed many of the songs that Phantom Iris have released previously, and those songs actually are in this CD, it is time for me to actually compile the reviews that I've made and add my impressions on the songs that I haven't reviewed and that were released a couple of years ago or a couple of months ago. So it's going to be a time for me to actually review everything about Phantom Iris and deliver it to you. Actually have a good time listening to Visual Kei Rock, because I love Visual Kei Rock, and seeing Sid or Shido composing songs, Mao and Shinji actually lending their talents to Phantom Iris is something that leaves me with good expectations for this CD. Shido is one of my favorite rock bands from Japan, and they are not necessarily a rock band. They were a Visual Kei band, then they were a rock band, now they are an acid jazz band. So I do love their music, especially their acid jazz phase, so that's really the one I am a big fan of. but I can tell when they are composing music for other groups because their sound and their progressions, even on the vocal end, are way too tailored for mouse vocals. And even if they are composing for other artists, in this case they are composing with Arthur Lounsbury's vocals in attention, they always sound like songs that were tailored for a Mao to perform. So I can tell apart when Shido are actually lending their hands to Phantom Iris. Everything they lent their hand to Phantom Iris has been really good, so I'm looking forward to that. And of course, Arthur Lounsbury has the poise, has the vocals, and has the comfort to deliver awesome performances. And I do love the instrumental, so this is a CD that I'm really looking forward to. I am going to review it and I'm quite excited about it. Then we have Gakto Kajiwara's Road Movie. So now that I have reviewed everything that Gakto Kajiwara has released as a solo artist, right now I do not have any of his CDs in my pile of shame, which is good. I'm quite excited to see where he takes his music next with Road Movie. Knowing how he has a semi-acoustic sound, I'm expecting more of that, but I'm also open for him to spread his wings and do something a bit different, but still within the rock genre. So I'm really curious to see what he can pull off with Road Movie. From the title, I could say that funk, city pop and jazz would fit really well, from the title alone, of course. But I'm really looking forward to what he can pull off there. I'm a big fan of his voice. I was a bit on the fence because of his solo debut being so early on in his career, but he's actually shown that it was deserved because his vocals and his technique and actually the passion he has for music do show when he is performing. And of course, he has a unique singing tone that I do not find in any other seiyuu artist or even seiyuu. He is so clean. Really, it's unreal how clean he is as a singer. I can't really explain what is going on in those vocals because he sounds nothing like any other seiyuu. That's something that actually makes me look forward to his music because I know that I haven't heard anything in that style with that type of voice. So I'm looking forward to see what he can pull off next. I do love that unique edge he has, the unique voice tone, and of course semi-acoustic pop rock. It's really something that I do love from time to time. Gakto Kajiwara ends up being that time to time for me, so I'm looking forward to it. And of course the biggest release of the month, at least for me, it's Lolodi's Mono or Mono. So mono, monochromatic, a monocolor. So we are thinking of something that only has one side. Which side are we going to get? That's my big question. Then it is Hama Takeshi composing the song, so my expectations are insanely high for this CD. It's Hama Takeshi, it is a lineup that I love a whole lot: Toshiki Toyonaga, Daiki Yamashita, Shunsuke Takeuchi, and they have been showing that they are insanely versatile and technical. All of them. No one is being shadowed by the other. They are all on the spotlight, and I do love that about Lolodi. I do love how different they sound from all other 2D groups. They are really dark and they are not shy about it, which makes them a bit niche because not many people like 2D groups that are really dark. In my case, it is up my alley. I like my music dark, so Lolodi really fit the bill for me, and to have Hama Takeshi composing the songs, better yet. So I'm really looking forward to Mono and see what comes from there. So do look forward to that review by the end of the month, and perhaps a slight talk about it in the next episode of Monthly Review. And that's all from me in this Music in the Horizon corner. Now let's check what you are looking forward to most next month. Now we have one comment, and it is a CD that was announced really recently, so from a solo debut, the second one this year, which is to say this year there haven't been many seiyuu making artist debuts, which is weird. Are we seeing something different happening here? This may be a topic to talk about on a Seiyuu Lounge episode if you follow the podcast, but let me check the comment. So Naz says, while there is so much music I am looking forward to this coming month, I am currently most excited for Kentito's solo debut, Midnight Love, because it was so unexpected. I am glad we get to hear solo music from him because his singing voice is adored by many. I am excited to know what musical direction he decides to take, especially in comparison to You Make. If you follow his Vocaloid or Vocaloid producer career and his work in You Make, you know that he basically can do a little bit of everything from rock to EDM, acoustic, jazz, anything. So he does have that versatility as a composer. However, he is not going to compose his songs for this CD, which is something that already has me a bit on the fence about the solo debut. Knowing how he's a singer-songwriter, not having him being a singer-songwriter is weird. So we have that drawback, at least for me. But I do understand the excitement that you have, and I do love his voice a whole lot. I remember it was around Infinite Possibilities, the song by Sam, and I watched the live performance in which he triples, it not only doubles his voice tone, it triples the vibrato in that song in his solo part, and I was like that, wow. I need to check more of him. And actually found out he was previously a Vocaloid producer. I did check everything he did with Sidem, and then I've followed him in all the projects he's been a part of, being that Anthos has been the most interesting in the 2D music industry. Of course, he has been doing some rapping with Matero, but I do not believe that's a really good example of how good of a singer he is, because he's not singing. It shows how good of a performer and how versatile he is, but not how good of a singer he is. It shows how good of a singer he is with Sam, with Anthos, especially with Anthos, and with You Make. You Make, he does have those constraints of composing music with Yoshiki Nakajima's lyrics into attention, so he does not have necessarily that much freedom when he is composing the songs. He has to be thinking about what was written for him, not something that he wrote himself. So those are some constraints he has as a composer for You Make. Not to say that the music for You Make is bad, it isn't, but it is mostly semi-acoustic, it is pop rock, it is mostly in that tone. Seeing how Yoshiki Nakajima has ventured to serve vanity, doing it on the side of You Make, and is actually exploring heavy rock in there, I would love to see Kentito going solo and exploring something other than the sound that he has been doing with You Make. I do not want fans to actually think that You Make and Kentito are the same, but more like Kentito can do something on the side, and when he is with You Make, he sounds like that and the sound is that. I want that separation to be made like Yoshiki Nakajima did for himself, going for a heavier sound with the Servanity and leaving the softer and more elegant sound more closely tied to jazz music to You Make. So I'm really curious about this solo debut, but it wasn't a CD I listed as some of the CDs I am looking forward to, because I am on the fence because of Kentito not being mentioned as the composer for his songs, so he does not have input in that. It says that the music label is actually micromanaging his solo career from the start. I do not like that, so I will be waiting for the CD to drop to see what is there and what Kentito can do, but I would have much rather preferred for himself to be the singer-songwriter. Still, it's good to see that he went for a music label, or went to sign with a music label that is not one of the big ones and it's not one of the bad ones. So he is with a sketch which is the music label that is supporting Daiki Yamashita, which is a music label that actually is supporting good voices. So it is good that it got to be with a good music label right from the start. I want to see what he can do next, but seeing how Daiki Yamashita's career has been a bit sparse, I do not know if this is actually the good step for him, especially if he wants to release music with some consistency and with some frequency. A Sketch are not sounding like that type of music label. Still, looking forward to Midnight Love by Kentito. I want to see if really, when I read this title, I can't help but think that this is going to be city pop, and if it is city pop, it's really going to be good, because I do love Kentito's voice. It was the thing that grabbed my attention in 2018, and it still is what grabs my attention. So I'm really looking forward to listening to this digital single, and I hope we get a full release, a full official debut release, for him to showcase his singer-songwriter skills instead of us getting songs composed by other people that have little to no input of his in there beyond him singing the songs. So that's my take on that. It's not really a positive take if you actually pay closer attention to it. It's more a cautious take on this solo debut, but still glad to see that are people excited for this debut. I didn't see much of an uproar about Kentito's solo debut, so it is good to see that some of you following the Hand That Feeds HQ are actually really excited about this solo debut and looking forward to listening to more by Kentito, who is a technical singer, one with an underrated voice that deserves much more attention, and finally is getting more attention, and hopefully everything works well and he gets even more attention. And that's all for your suggestions in the Music in the Horizon corner. And now it is time for the Ask Vanessa corner, and it is time for me to talk about Soma. Wait, we have a comment. I was really getting comfortable with the idea of this being the Somasaito corner, but at the same time, I'm going to be honest, there's not much to talk about when I talk this frequently about him. And he's been so quiet this year. So thank you very much for actually taking the time to write something and ask me anything. So I welcome you once again to participate and to leave me comments, because I was finding it difficult for this episode to actually have a Ask Vanessa corner in which I talk about Somasaito, because I do not have that much to talk about at the moment, especially with how quiet he has been in the last couple of months. But yeah, we do have a comment or a question by ML, and the comment or the question is: what do you think about Kentito's solo debut? Oh, I've already talked a bit about it, but I can talk about it again. Did you expect it? I only know him from Hanadol, but that's enough to know how good he is. I'm looking forward to ECD. Okay, ML. First off, his work with the Hanadol franchise as part of Anthos has been mesmerizing. He's shown that he has a massive vocal range, that he can do basically anything on the baritone and the tenor range, and is a fantastic support as well as a fantastic lead. I was actually expecting Kentito to actually be announced as a member of Vadlip in the Alpella franchise. Actually, the lineup ended up having different lineup that I was the lineup for Vadlip ended up being really different from what I was expecting. But I was expecting Kentito to actually be announced there and not to announce a solo debut. I was actually thinking that Kentito would, seeing as he's still composing songs for 2D groups and artists, I was expecting him to take more of a background role as a composer and producer for seiyuu artists or 2D music groups. more so than being a solo artist. But then again, he's a composer, he has been a composer for many years, he does his own music and lyrics if he wants to, and he has a lot of experience as a singer, so why not try it and be a solo artist? I confess, I was not expecting that. And not with the music label he got, so it was a double surprise for me. Kentito is a really skilled singer. He's shown before on various karaoke programs, he has shown in various projects. I was saying that Hypnosis Mic doesn't really count that much because it is rapping, but still it is a showcase of his emotional range, it is a showcase of his versatility, not so much of his quality as a singer, because he's not singing there. With Anthos in the Hanadol franchise, which you've mentioned, ML, it's actually the vocal prowess that he showcases. He is one of the lead vocals alongside Shunichi Toki, and it is crazy what he does there, and how good, effortlessly good he can sound in Anthos' songs. And it's always a treat to actually find him taking the lead in Anthos' songs. He's also been doing some work with Show by Rock. He's actually doing work with the Saidam franchise. That's where I found him first. And he has been a really good singer for the past couple of years. He has yet to have a bad performance, in my opinion. And if he has had any bad performance, it wasn't because of his vocals, it was because of the vocal direction. Because we have all, in a way, if you are listening or watching this episode and you have checked his singing in whichever project you enjoy the most, you notice that he is a really good singer. He's a genuinely good singer. He knows what he is doing, and not many seiyuu can say that they actually know and have full control of their voice like Kentito does. He does have that, and he does have now the support to showcase more of that as a solo artist. Honestly, I would love for him to be more of a jazz, funk or city pop artist. We only have one city pop artist among male seiyuu, it is Kotaro Nishiyama, so it would be good to have a bit more variety, more to choose from within a music genre that is so awesome and so underappreciated, especially by international fans as city pop is. So it is really awesome to see Kentito actually taking a step forward, but I was not expecting that at all. It's good that it is a digital single instead of a CD right off the bat. It is good because a digital single serves to check the pulse of the fandom, to see how many copies it sells and if it is worth betting way too much in Kentito or betting a bit more on the cautious side and not sell that many copies or not prepare that many copies for sale when it's time to actually sell a physical CD. So it is good to gauge the pulse of the fandom and see how many Kentito fans would be in to check the music and actually purchase the music going forward. So I find the strategy to be interesting. The marketing is not really that much, not much has evolved since the announcement, so I'm following it closely to check what is going to be their strategy to promote Kentito and if it's going to work or not. The music, I will be reserving my opinion to when the song drops. I will be reviewing it for sure. That actually deserves more attention and it doesn't get that much beyond having some fans that carried over from Hypnosis Mic, but beyond that not many people actually pay attention to his singing when he is such a fantastic and skilled singer and composer. So I'm looking forward to it. I was not expecting it, but yet again most of the solo debuts in the last couple of years were debuts from seiyuu I was not expecting at all. Some of those were really curveballs for me, but Kentito, this was going to be a solo debut down the line. It was a question of when, and that is already answered. It is this year, it is next month. So I'm looking forward to it, and I want to see if it's going to be drastically different from You Make, if it is going to carry something over from the projects he has been a part of, if he's going to be doing something to distance himself from all the work he's doing into the music projects. That would be ideal, to have longevity in his solo career and to actually have a core fan base that would support him or will support him because of his music, not because of his 2D music projects or his participation into the music projects. So I'm looking forward to it, and we will be talking about that single, I believe so, in the next episode. So thank you very much for this question, ML, and that's all from the Ask Vanessa corner. So that's all for this episode. Thank you very much to everyone that participated, and once again, if you can, do participate in these episodes. The monthly review episodes are made for you and with your participation into attention, so do participate if you feel like a CD is well worth checking out. And I may miss it, I may have not even reviewed it, and it may be a call for me to actually do something and review, or if I'm not going to review it, at least give my opinion there, and instead of a review you get a live review of the CD. Do participate if you can. The forum will be open in the next couple of days. You will be seeing notifications, weekly notifications on social media, on Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube, in the community bar, so do check that. And of course, as always, do check the music if you can, the music I suggested and commenters suggested. There are really awesome CDs in there, well worth checking out, and most of those are really underrated, which is a pity. Thus, I say it yet again to you, do check them if you can. All the CDs I mentioned, apart from Hound Roars and Fair, are available on streaming platforms worldwide. Most of the CDs I reviewed were in high quality on Spotify, so do check those if you can. Those are available on Spotify or Apple Music if you prefer that. So that's all from me in this episode, and I'll see you guys soon.